So for the drasha this evening, we're inviting two key members of Emet, of the trans and non-binary team here at CBST, to speak a little bit. First, we're going to hear from Logann Grayce Finkel. Logann's poem is actually in the program on page 6 if you want to follow along. And we'll hear a little bit from Logann. And then after Logann speaks, we'll turn to a video teaching from Rabbi Leiah Moser, who is on staff here at CBST. She is the lead of the Emet group. She leads the Emet group, and she's taught at CBST many times, particularly for the Trans Jews Are Here convening, but currently is a staff member who's leading our group with such intuitive knowledge and compassion. So we're really, really honored that she'll give us a teaching, but it will be virtual. So Logann, please, we'd love to hear your teaching as well. Thank you so much.
Shabbat shalom. So I'm going to lead with my poem, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about why Trans Day of Visibility and why visibility is important to me. Oh, to be trans, visible, and free. How I long for a world where I rise and shine, or rise and cry, but regardless, stepping out my front door doesn't feel like an act of bravery. A chance for me to be as authentically trans as I can be, for everyone else, and a little for me. That my visibility isn't something I overthink, tone down, pretend that it's of no importance to myself or the rest of humanity. While my inner child weeps, wondering where were all the transgender grown-ups when they needed to look up and find truth and safety in the eyes of an adult like them. Seeing them in all their pride, glory, and activism, wearing their pronouns and flag pins. On any given day, my visibility can mean so many things: misgendering, exclusion, confusion, discrimination, unwelcome glares, and expectation of an explanation about my gender identity and that of the entire trans population. Feelings of shame, exhaustion, enough to force me back inside to hide. Hiding parts of me that are my authenticity, the parts that often allow a small child who meets my gaze or catches my smile to truly see me, maybe seeing parts of themselves in me. Oh, to be trans visible can evoke so much joy when a student tells me I'm who they want to be when they grow up. Seeing an adult like me out in the world fills them with hope for a present and future. Trans visibility says that we're here, and we always have been, for longer than most have known. It's been written on paper and etched in stone. And it says we are done with hiding and pretending as others have, that we do not and never did exist. We are not your trends or fads or fashion statements. Our bodies, young and old, are ours and ours alone. We are human and alive, and despite repeated attempts of violence and erasure in our home country and all around the world, it's often empowering to be trans and visible. But until that visibility ceases to jeopardize our safety, shelter, travel, access to affirming healthcare, employment, financial stability, food security, our mental and physical well-being, the sports we can play, our education, and so much more, those who dare to be trans and visible in voice, on paper, and in flesh, we have to continue the work our ancestors started. Because, oh, to be trans, visible, and free, that, my trans siblings, is my wish, my dream, my bracha for all of us, forever and always. Amen. So I'm going to tell two really short stories. The first one is I had the privilege, the end of 2022 into 2023, of being a teaching artist for a performing arts high school. And I was working with the teachers in a class called Activism in the Arts. And my kids, at the end of their semester, devised short plays that were about things that they were passionate about, like different political topics. And my very first day, one of the students who was non-binary came running up to me and said, "You're exactly what I want to be like when I grow up." And they also had told their teacher at the end of our semester that they were so grateful that I was their guest because they don't get to see adults like them in the world. My second story is about a month ago, I was in San Diego. I have some Orthodox family there, and my sister and my little nephews were with me. And so we're staying with my aunt and uncle, and we decided we'll keep Shabbat with them. And my sister was planning on going to their synagogue, and I was thinking about it because I was like, what side do I sit on? I haven't been to an Orthodox synagogue in a very, very long time. And also, like, I don't want to wear a dress. So, I told my sister, I said, I want to go, but I'm conflicted. And she said, oh, is it about the side? And I said, I'll sit with you. It's fine. I said, but I don't want to wear a dress. And she said, if me wearing pants would encourage you to go, I'll wear pants too. I don't want you to feel singled out. Nobody will make my sibling feel uncomfortable. And that was like, it meant a lot to me. So we went, and I wore my kippah, because that's what I do when I'm in synagogue. And a little boy, he's probably about between 10 and 12, came up to me and said, why are you wearing a kippah? And it was like, really? He was like really intense. Why are you wearing a kippah? And I said, because I wear one in my home synagogue, and I'm in a synagogue. And then he looked real confused, and he said, are you a man or are you a woman? And I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm not getting to the whole thing. But I gave him the very simple, straightforward answer. And I said, I'm neither, I'm non-binary. And I slowly walked away, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. And I just, I think to myself about that moment, like, I almost didn't go to synagogue with my family because I wasn't worried about, I was a little worried about how uncomfortable I felt, but I was like worried about everybody else's comfort level. And something I'm working so hard to do is I don't want to shrink myself. I'm tired of hiding. Like, trans day visibility, it means we have a right to be here. We deserve to be here. We're allowed to take up space. We have nothing to be ashamed of. There is no shame. And we're allowed to be Jewish. And so that's really what it means to me. And the fact that I didn't get to see other adults like me in my Jewish community or anywhere in the world, not on television, nowhere, there was no visibility, it had a profound impact on me in a negative way. And so while so many members of society are trying to, push us back into hiding and, take away our rights, visibility is so important. It saves lives. It really does. So that's all I have to say, and Shabbat Shalom.
Wow, Logann, I'm so moved. Thank you for sharing your words, really. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Just really. And now we'll turn to a virtual teaching from Rabbi Leiah Moser on the Parsha.
I am a self-described Mishkan Jew. While that strain of Jewish tradition which longs for the restoration of the temple in Jerusalem leaves me absolutely cold, I feel a great deal of personal warmth for the memory of the portable sanctuary which accompanied our ancestors in their wanderings through the wilderness. The idea of a sacred space that can be there for us wherever we need it to be feels powerful to me in a way that no mere building of wood and stone ever could. Emet feels a lot like that, a portable sanctuary in the wilderness, a place where transgender Jews can bring their whole selves and connect with one another over a word of Torah or over a bit of news shared with those that we know will understand. On an ordinary day, it is a place where we can be without having to justify our Jewishness or our gendered selves. On an extraordinary day, I like to think it can be a place of holiness. And what makes it all the more special is that, like the Mishkan of earlier times, it can be there for us wherever we need it to be, whether in the middle of New York City or someplace where we are the only transgender person or the only Jew within 50 miles. Being a part of Emet has been a really special experience for me. Having a chance to share Torah and make connections with fellow trans Jews from all over the place, to get to know one another and to build community has been a blessing. And it's something that I look forward to at the beginning of every month. As we come together this evening in honor of the Trans Day of Visibility, this Mishkan, this sacred space that we create together, is something to be celebrated, something all too rare in a world where we are frequently made to feel like an exception. Like every sacred space, it is not simply the experiences we have within that are important, but also the sense of holiness and of wholeness that we carry with us into the outside world. Ultimately, what happens within this community may not be all that different from what goes on in Jewish communities, large and small, anywhere that they are to be found. And that in itself may be the most important thing to understand about the communities that we build. That what really makes them special is that we ourselves are the ones who are building them. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.